Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be doing an art time lapse with the topic or the title called Stay Sweet. It's currently still winter as I'm working on this piece, but I can think of nothing but some sweet strawberries that come along during the summer season. So this piece is inspired by summer berries. If you ask me what my favorite season is for fruits, it would definitely be summer because I just love blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, all kinds of berries. And I hope my kids will love them too once they get a chance to try all the different berries available that grow within our area. So I'm starting off with acrylic wash again. I already done a light blue, sky blue gouache layer diluted with water in the background, and now I am just adding on some more diluted gouache of different colors to mark where all of the strawberries and leaves are gonna be. Now I decided I'm gonna put it in a container or a mason jar of some sort so everything is contained, and it would be probably a lot of fun to paint something in a jar as well, so I can work on reflection as part of my art technique to practice. I think originally when I started with gouache, I thought that I would do illustrations with very solid colors, but at the end I ended up using a lot of water diluted by gouache, which makes it have a slight watercolor effect, but it's super opaque and the colors are beautiful and layer on top of each other. Gouache's property that I completely fell in love with the medium and decided that, you know what, I know you can do illustration with solid colors, but I can have so much fun painting the way I want to paint it. If that makes any sense to anyone else. I just feel like I've never gone to art school specifically, but like I know there's a lot of ways that you can learn art on the internet as well, like Skillshare or YouTube. But sometimes it's just so much fun discovering a medium on your own or learn something on your own for the first time. And sometimes you discover your own style. So I say that if you're ever interested in something, sometimes it's fun just trying it out on your own, even before learning the specific skills. Because who knows, maybe the process of learning is going to be more intriguing for you than actually sitting down in class or reading a book and learning, letting someone tell you how to use this medium. So that's my little rant that I went off in. Here you can see I've already layered on many different layers of green, of gouache. I'm using black and a fine brush to put in circles and balls of where I will put my Susuwatari. You would probably notice that this piece is also inspired by Studio Ghibli Susuwatari that has been found notably in a lot of their movies. I find that they're the most adorable things ever. So I did a round ball circle for all of them, and then now I'm adding in a little fur for each one. Now, something memorable for this piece is that I got to do part of this piece in a coffee shop while I'm waiting for my daughter to transition into daycare. And it's the first time that I've been inside a coffee shop since, I want to say, like sitting coffee shop by myself, drawing, probably 2.5 if not 3 years, which is pretty amazing. Part of it is because of like my responsibilities and how busy it is with kids, and part of it is just with the whole pandemic. I've been just being very careful. So today is very special for me, and this piece will forever remind me of my first step back into something outside of pandemic life. It felt really strange, I must admit, like sitting in a coffee shop and doodling and drawing. And I specifically chose a place that had good lighting and right by the window, and surprisingly enough, there was a lot of people picking up their coffee and then coming by to say hi to me at the window and giving me a thumbs up. And I think that was part of the interesting charm of drawing inside a coffee shop, the public that I get to interact with. Well, probably more normally if it weren't for the pandemic. Anyways, so here I'm using a jelly roll from Sakura, and it's a gel pen. And it's a new technique I'm learning right now on how to best do the Susuwatari, and that's to paint the dark black, cobalt black, or blue colors, and then using the jelly roll to draw in the eyes but leave in the space for the pupil. It makes us much easier, and you lose that step of adding in the pupil, and like it's really hard to get the fine point of the brush to get the pupil at just the right place. So I would say this is a nifty trick that I'm learning, and it is making my characters and my illustrations so much better. So here I am speeding up and showing you I'm using my oil color pencils, and I'm using the Artist Gray Faber-Castell oil color pencils to color in parts of the leaves to create a little bit of dimension and shade. I'm also using Prismacolor Premier White to kind of blend in and add highlights to parts of the leaves as well. For the shadows, I am using a blue color rather than doing a solid black, so that it will make the strawberries a little bit more interesting with the shadow, and also maybe you can show as part of the reflection from the glass jar itself. Guys, if you like this type of content, please consider like, subscribe, and sharing, or hitting that bell underneath there and be notified of future videos. It really helps in spreading the word about my artwork. Thank you so much for considering. Now I'm using my oil pencils to add details to each of the leaves. I can probably do that with gouache as well. The convenience of using gouache is that you can layer other mediums on top, given that it's quite matte finish and not a glossy finish like acrylics. And I really enjoy going to a coffee shop and just grabbing some oil pencils and doing this type of work, rather than picking up my entire gouache set and water container and everything and brushes and going to a coffee shop to do. But overall, you can now see that the leaves are really popping. You can see that there are some highlights, some shadow areas. They look very bubbly and fun, not just the one-dimensional solid color. Now I'm adding seeds for the strawberries. I have the idea of integrating this particular illustration with one other Studio Ghibli movie, which is Arrietty. It is such an adorable film, and I love her spirit of being at all at everything and the curiosity of being young, I guess. And so I decided that she would hang out in the strawberry jar. I feel like Arrietty is one of the more underrated Studio Ghibli movies, perhaps because it came out a little bit later compared to some of the other Studio Ghibli movies, or I actually don't know the reason behind it, but it is such an enduring movie. If you have not watched it, go check it out. I really love the little details that Miyazaki and their team of Studio Ghibli did for this piece, watching the little furnitures and the creativity on how they created Arrietty's house. It was just absolutely a stunning piece of artwork. Now for the jar on top, I decided to add some pattern to the fabric. Now heading back home, I'm going back to my acrylic wash now that I've added so much dimension to my artwork using oil pencils. You can see that the whole piece just pops so much more rather than one solid color for the leaves and then for the fabric that's wrapping the top of the jar. Like, it just looks so much more 3D. Here I'm painting in Arrietty. I use white to kind of block off where she's gonna be, and then the other colors to kind of slowly fill in where her dress will be. And I have one of her hands on the top of a strawberry and the other one resting on the second, and hoping that like she's interacting with the rest of the piece rather than just being a cute little character standing in the jar. Now zooming in, you can see some of the details. I find that her face right now just doesn't have a lot of character, feels very mute, so definitely need to work on that. I've given her a little backpack and some cute boots. Another thing I forgot to paint in earlier was the strawberry heads with the little leaf on top, so I'm going back to paint on top. Like I mentioned, one of my favorite things about painting acrylic wash is that you can always go back and paint over certain parts because of the characteristic of acrylic wash, that it dries matte and also it dries opaque, so you can layer on colors on top of each other without worrying about, like, for example, watercolor. You have a specific amount of time where you have to work with the medium before it dries, and you can't really layer colors on top of each other for watercolor. So I'm close to finishing up this piece. I hope you enjoyed this art time lapse of So Sweet, inspired by Studio Ghibli's Susuwatari and also Arrietty. Zooming out, you can look at how this piece has come together. I'm also zooming in to give you a better look at Arrietty. Her face looks a little bit more interesting and have more character than before. So that's it for now. I want to thank you for joining me on this art time lapse and listening to my rant. I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.